What's up, YouTube? I'm back at it with another vlog. This one's more so of a talking head. We can call it that. It's a little distance so I can get both of us in the picture. But, man, this is my brother. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yo, what's good, fam? Ew. My name's Kyle, and 42 Wonders brother, so
How old are you?
I'm 11 years old, and I'm happy to be here.
Come on. But this video is more so of just a vulnerability talk, you know. This is my first vacation without drinking. We was on a cruise 2 months ago, and oh my Lord, I got stories for days. But, I can honestly sit here and say that it was embarrassing, I was rooming with my brother at the time too. But like, man, my daddy was called in the middle of the night. My sister was called in the middle of the night. And for my little brother who looks up to me to be seeing that, that's not the type of example I want to be setting. But one thing I want to say is that you know how I've been getting closer to God, right? All I do is for Jesus Christ. We're blessed to have a family whose foundation is Christ. And one thing I can sit here and say to commend my brother is that I know that you look up to me a lot, but one thing I looked up to you a lot in, and what inspired me that I seen in you, was the fire that Christ has put in you. And that's when, like, we were at church and I see you worshiping with your hands up, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Me, it's crazy because as you get older, or even right now, you can look around the room at church and see a lot of people don't put their hands up, you know what I mean? And it doesn't put you over anybody, but we want to give our all to God, right? So when I saw you doing that, I was one of those people who was like, man, I felt like there was just some entity or spirit holding my hands down. Like, I felt like I would always just stand like this, if y'all can't see, just like this, like, you know what I mean, bopping my head to the music. And my little brother there worshiping with his hands up, he went to church camp and everything. So that was like, wow, that just amazed me. So finally, I can say I was delivered from any entity or spirit that was holding me back. You know what I mean? I felt like it was some type of bondage. But now being willingly able to worship and give Christ my all, you know what I mean? Through the worship service, having my hands up, giving my all and praising Christ, man, it just feels so amazing. So that's something you inspired me. You know what I mean? And that's one of the biggest things I wanted to tell you on camera was you were my role model with that. So that's great. And you just don't ever feel ashamed to be like, I live for Christ. You know what I mean? Because now you are, we got daddy and we got me and you're right behind, you know what I mean? And me and you are the ones for the next Hueys in line. So you need to know that you're going to get a lot of backlash. Those friends, you know what I mean? Some of them might not be aware of Christ, and you might have to be that seed sower, So you're going to have to grow into that and be that man that daddy's molding you into. And any advice I give you is only to better yourself. But yeah, I love you.
Love you too.
And man, he's been with me. He supports me so much. We have a brotherhood here. He's 11, I'm 25. That's a 14-year difference. But at the end of the day, this is my dog. I'm riding for him. And do you know why I moved to Houston?
For me?
Do you know why I moved to Houston? You were very, very young at the time, and I was still living with my mom. And when I got the news that y'all was leaving, one of the biggest reasons I left the Valley was to come and move and be with you. Salt and pepper, baby. But I didn't want to grow apart from you. I wanted to be there in your life. So I was always the only child, and then, of course,
Dominic and Haley, but you're the only boy.
Yeah, and then so when they had you, I was like, man, finally I have a brother, and I never had that growing up. So I moved for you. I wanted to just always be a part of your life. And right now, I'm in a season of isolation in my life. And some might say, like, you shouldn't be isolating from family, and I don't do it intentionally, but I'm still growing within myself. So if you ever feel that, like, hey, well, like, I don't talk to my brother that much, you need to always know I'm there, okay? And if I don't tell you enough, I love you. I always love you. I feel no shame in telling you I love you. I'm proud to call you my brother. You my dog, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to add to that. Oh, yeah. As you grow, you're gonna realize too that sometimes a time is coming when you just don't talk to the people you always talk to that much, you know.
Yeah.
And you need to be okay with being alone. You're doing great right now. You're drawing, you know what I mean? You're able to have fun with yourself, but you need to be able to enjoy. And I always tell you, there's a balance though, because I can be in my room cooped up all day and then go out there and still talk to somebody. You know what I mean? So being able to talk to a stranger is really big as well. Okay, so you need to develop your social skills and all of that. But the biggest thing I can ever tell you is learn how to be alone. Learn how to love yourself alone. You know what I mean? Enjoy that time. And for the camera, back to what I was saying about me not drinking on this cruise, you know, I made a vow to God, you know. It's just because 2 months ago when we went on the cruise, the day before we left, and I think it was August 12th, I had a church performance, and it was one of my biggest concerts. It was actually my first concert performing for Christ, you know what I mean? My first Christian concert, and one of the biggest turnouts. But to go from that, you know what I mean, to me being on stage, spreading the gospel, you know, telling people they need to stay firm in their words, stay firm in their faith, for me to a couple days later be blacked out on the floor, on the first floor, second floor of the ship, like, man, I felt like a hypocrite. I felt like crap. I felt like a disgrace. I felt like I let so many people down, you know what I mean? And I think though that right there is what a lot of people, that is what keeps people from being a Christian, you know. But I am not the face of Christianity, you know. People who do mess up are not going to take accountability. I'm not saying everybody, but some people lack accountability. I'm coming on here to say that, to take full accountability of my actions, and that was poor of what I did. You know, that was a poor misrepresentation of Christ. That was a misrepresentation of myself, my own image, you know. But for me being able to come on here and say that to y'all is just to enforce the accountability I need to take for myself, and the accountability I would expect my loved ones and the people who support me to keep me at. But other than that, it was a short video. I love y'all. Kyle, what do we tell them? Zay out.